Hey guys, it's Kylie. Sorry about the weirdish lighting. The sun is basically set because I started recording this 2 hours later than I meant to, because when I got home from work today, rather than jumping into this, I decided to recut Getting There as a queer film trailer, the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. I guess I'll link that, because why do I do that? But the advantage is that you get me answering these with a little beer in me. So, let's get to it. To let you know off the bat, I have the leaked episode 6. I didn't watch it. I sort of skimmed through, but I know what happens in it. I already knew what happened in it before it leaked anyway. And I've kind of decided I'm not going to sit down and watch it before it airs because I'm live blogging anyway, and 70 minutes is enough to give this show on Sunday night, so I'd just rather not. Yeah. So most of these questions I don't think are about the leaked episode. I think they're probably going to be about Eastwatch. But yeah, let's just dive right in it. Nair Nemater said to GoT Give Some Musings. Have you read the GoT Season 8 leaks? If so, do you suspect them to be legit? This is that HBO's email was supposedly hacked, and it said, like, oh, here's what's going to happen in Season 8, and there is, like, a whole thing about how, you know, Martin demanded that they kill this character and not this character. Anyway, I honestly don't put any stock in it. It's not so much that I find anything implausible that was in those leaks, but at this point, you know, they've built such a reputation on, oh, we're going to keep you guessing, that even if that did somehow legitimately leak, they'd probably just change it at this point. But it seems, it's a little fishy. I think, you know, there's going to be plenty with, if there's any auditions or if there's filming spoilers, like, they're already going to be jumping into Season 8 production pretty soon. So there's really just no reason to read into it right now. And I also probably don't care enough to read into it right now. Yeah, so, no, I mean, maybe it's as plausible as any other leak that you'll tell me. That's the thing about the show. It's all possible, but I wouldn't put too much into it. Anonymous said, I have a question for a Q&A if it hasn't been asked before. Why do you think there's such a disdain for A Song of Ice and Fire series and fans from people who only watch GOT? I've never seen this kind of hostility towards the source material in any big fantasy adaptations and was wondering your opinion. Yeah, I think I have gotten this question, and truthfully, the honest answer, I don't really have one other than the fact that D&D do show a bit of disdain in their own part, so then actors will be like, oh, these are just snobby book fans and stuff like that in interviews, and I'm just wondering if that sort of created this kind of culture around it. I mean, from what I understand, fans of the Harry Potter movies who didn't read the books liked the book fans fleshing out their knowledge. I do think the fans that were sour on the Lord of the Rings movie trilogies that had read the books were sort of dismissed as, like, neckbeard nerds that, you know, don't know anything and whatnot. So I have seen hostility before, but yeah, to this degree where people just, like, ignore, I honestly don't know. It's just they really, really, really want to like this thing, and I guess we're easy targets or something. I don't know. It's a good question. I've really never seen anything like it, and we've also never been in this situation before either, right? Where the visual adaptation is, you know, ahead of this book series. That's very rare. Anonymous said, I agree with you that characters like Deadpan and your sister have done things that make you wonder what makes them worth rooting for compared to Carroll. But how could they have made them worth rooting for like in the books? Dany is poised to burn lots of people, and Arya has shown a degree of coldness in mercy. That's the Winds of Winter sample chapter, so sorry if that was a mild spoiler. A degree of coldness is putting it mildly. Their thoughts show their goodness. How would that translate on screen? Of course, they're just two examples. There are others who are portrayed too black as well. Well, yeah, like Tyrion's a prime example too, where he's a very, very dark-eyed character in the books. I think the answer is that the books don't ask us to root for anyone. They ask us to draw our own conclusions, whereas the show very clearly wants us to be on the sides of people. And then, you know, the whole point of this film is, this series is that the only battle worth fighting is the battle within the human heart, and that's what's supposed to be the driving part of it. And yeah, you know, I think it was always an uphill battle to translate it well to a visual medium, but you could at least show them struggling with something, and you could show them having moments of empathy. Like with Deadpan, she just says things in this voice that's supposed to have command, and I have no idea why I'm supposed to like her at any given moment. I mean, it's not just that she burns people, it's that, like, in between burning people, there's there's nothing there. I don't even know what her personality is. So I think they just could have done a better job to make them emote more. And with Arya, I don't think we're supposed to be simplistically rooting for her to be all murdery in the books. Like, you know, even the Mercy kill that she had in that chapter, like, good, but we're supposed to be disturbed. We're supposed to be disturbed. And I think that's the difference. A Song of Ice and Fire lets us be disturbed and gives us the space to draw those conclusions. You don't have to reply if you're too buried in unanswered messages, I am. But why do you think some performances have been consistently top-notch during the show's run, like Lena Headey or Alfie Allen's, while others have nowadays looked like some kind of uninterested and disengaged from the role, like Emilia Clarke and sometimes Peter Dinklage? Well, if I was playing Deadpan or Saint Tyrion, I would be super, super disengaged too. There's just no texture and nuance there. Carroll and Cheryl, Lena Headey has a ton to sink her teeth into, and Alfie Allen has really shown a range of emotions, and he's given a lot to work off on. Even Sansa, Sophie Turner has a lot of different things to work off of. I don't know that that's the best for her character, because she's incredibly inconsistent, but it's there. It's totally there. So part of it could be boredom. Part of it could be acting capabilities. You know, from what I understand, Emilia Clarke hasn't been wooing many people in the other stuff she's been in. Same with Kit Harington. Peter Dinklage, I do think, has more range, and he seemed to be a little more animated and lively. Some of it's going to be direction, but I mean, this is all speculation. I would guess that Lena Headey is a stronger actor than Emilia Clarke. Like, that's something I would conclude at this point, actually, not just guess. But I think that what it mostly comes down to is the writing and direction. Because if you're being directed to just be deadpan, you're gonna suck. But you know, if you're not having material to sink your teeth into, if you're not given a range of expression, and if you're not given any nuance, then what is there? It's just tits and dragons. To be clear, what's your stance on, to be hyperbolic, genre is fun versus genre is trash and unworthy to be called literature debate? Proud snobness seems to be your ethos, but you're also willing to entertain fantasy elements despite your commendable disdain for spectacle and plot-driven storytelling. Do you like A Song of Ice and Fire because genre or despite genre? This is actually an excellent question, and Julia wrote an amazing piece, I'll link it, about genre expectations and how she used... Margaret Atwood and George R. R. Martin as two authors. Margaret Atwood being a literature author with genre elements in her literature, and then Martin being a genre writer of high literary merit, and how they both kind of get screwed by genre expectations, basically. I would say I absolutely love genre, but I don't think there's this clear separation to it. And yeah, snobbery is my ethos, but in this case it's just snobbery for a really bad adaptation of something. So I fall more on the... Genre is not trash and unworthy to be called literature, because genre can be done well and have incredibly high literary merit. And I actually kind of view A Feast for Crows, A Dance with Dragons as a little bit of a genre switch from fantasy to more literary with fantasy elements. But that's really just getting into semantics. I certainly don't disdain genre in any respect. But the exploration that Martin does of the headspace and that close POV structure, it's just, I've never seen anything matched to it. So my relationship to this book series is also very different than my relationship to any other genre books or stories that I've read. Why was Littlefinger spooked by Bran saying chaos is a ladder? Shouldn't his reaction have been, oh my god, that's exactly how I see chaos too. What a wise young man you are. Oh my god, that's exactly how I see chaos too. Sorry. Did he read the script and know Bran was quoting him? Maybe Batfinger thinks he's so clever that only he could come up with chaos as a ladder. That's just such bad Why is this entire season just like referencing it's so bad. It's like Arrested Development levels of self-referential, but this isn't a sitcom that we're watching. This is supposed to be the best drama on TV, right? So like, what the fuck? Yeah. I read a theory that Carroll is lying to Larry about the baby so that he stays by her side. I have read spoilers through the end of the season. I can tell you that theory is incorrect, but I will say something about this theory because I'm pretty sure she miscarries too. What people who craft these theories do, they want to feel very smart and like, oh, there's these hidden motives, there's these hidden plots. I bet she's really manipulating him. Why Larry has been on her side, committed to her through everything. He actually just found out something kind of horrible about Olenna. If anything, that would have made him more sympathetic to everything Carol's been saying this whole time. He didn't need this to be on board with her. He didn't need the idea of their dynasty for themselves or anything. He has been Team Carol. So what would this do? It would just be like, oh, we think she lies. It's Cheryl, by the way. I'm sorry. We think Cheryl lies, so she's a liar. Like, okay, cool. But what motivation? So I don't know. I think people get taken in cleverness. I think what annoys me most, this and the previous season, is everyone's loyalty switching in a matter of minutes. The King's Landing people hated Carol until she became Cheryl, and they didn't. The Northern Lords loved Jon and ignored Sansa until he went south, and then they didn't. And don't get me started on the Dornish and the Ironborn people. You mean those guards just standing there when Velaria stabs Duran? This issue breaks any kind of immersion I used to have in the show because everyone is loyal only as long as the plot needs them to be. Yep. It's absolutely immersion breaking, and once that immersion is broken, I'm unable to go back into it, and it's a problem because then you just see everyone as pieces on a board that D&D are moving, and you can't get into their space at all. But yeah, it's absolutely a problem, especially for getting the small folk. Like, the small folk matter. There would be fucking mass riots in Cheryl's Landing right now, or there should be, but no. Okay, this is in a Song of Ice and Fire question. Thank you. You didn't see that. There you go. I remember reading that one of your favorite POVs is Cersei Lannister. I think she's my third favorite, actually, in terms of point of view characters. Not like as a character, but my third favorite point of view to read. Maybe Brienne beats her out. I think Cersei and her internalized misogyny are very important in a Doyleist perspective, and she's a great foil for Catelyn, Jaime, and also sometimes Sansa. Absolutely. Also Brienne. However, for such an important character, it's surprising to have had her as late as Feast. Why do you think GRM took the decision not to explore her as a central character until so late in the story? I don't think it ever even occurred to him to explore her as a character until Gap Scrap. So he was going to have the 5-year time gap in between the third book and the fourth book. And then as he tried to start doing that, he realized he couldn't. And A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons were born. And that's when everything just kind of expanded and he really let himself go into exploring these headspaces. So I don't know for sure, but I think that's when the idea of getting into Carol's head and fleshing that out and making her sort of this amazing foil for all these characters in this really cool, fallible window into what's going on in King's Landing came to be. Because the whole idea is that she fucks everything up. And that's like what takes place in that time period. So my guess is it just didn't occur to him. And something happened in A Feast for Crows that is it's so female-led. And pretty much all the characters deal with the patriarchy in some way, and it's really fascinating. So I think to have the poster child for internalized misogyny, at the same time we're introduced to Brienne's character, who's just so wonderfully transgressive. Like, I think the only thing I can guess is that it felt right as he was beginning to craft it, but I don't have much to say that with certainty beyond that. I'll link my Cersei Lannister podcast that Julia and I did. We talk about all her foils because she has a million. All right. I understand the implications behind friend zoning and Dany accepting Jorah back, but in this case, I'd say it's not malicious. Jorah is shown rather attractive and chivalrous instead of creepy and obsessive. He doesn't seem to care whether his feelings are reciprocated or not and just wants to serve her. It's not exactly what I would call dude bro material. I'd be more concerned about Tyrion and Varys mansplaining for Dany and trying to fix her, TBH. I'm concerned about all of it. I'm concerned about all aspects of Dany's scripting and the men around her. I mean, first of all, it wasn't scripted with malicious intent. But the whole friend zone thing, it's very rarely dude bros that fit into this. It's usually the nice guy trope, right? And the guy that thinks that they're entitled to your affections just because they're nice. And I think what bothers me about this is that Jorah has shown up uninvited a whole lot of times, and she just she rejected him once, and then she just accepted him back because he went to save her life. And it's like, oh, great. You're wondering. And then he just gets thrown into these love triangles. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to find this compelling, to be honest. I agree it's not the worst offense that's ever been on this show. But yeah, you can walk and chew gum. You can take issue with both. It's not a flattering pattern overall. My sister just called me crying for the last hour and a half, so I have to go. Bye!